where to begin? We're talking about one of our newest crown jewels, which is a micro lot of coffee from Yemen, which we recently airshipped to Oakland.
Yeah.
This is important. Airshipping, famously, at least between me and our inbound logistics team, nearly impossible to do well. And I have to say, despite the fact that we really just started doing this with this particular supplier in Yemen, I think last year, they are one of the most professional air shipment exporters that we have worked with, like, around the world. Honestly, it's awesome. I was like, can we hire them to do Brazil and to do Colombia and everywhere else, please?
Honestly.
So the partnership that we have with the supplier, Pearl of Tahama, continues to evolve. They're now air shipping us crown jewels. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I would say this is probably one of the best Yemen coffees I've ever tasted in my life.
Easily. It's actually a restock from a new harvest of a similar coffee that we carried not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the backstory goes even further in history. This is a legacy relationship of Royals for, I want to say, close to 35 years now.
It's a great story.
It's really incredible. All the details are available in writing on the blog. The short version is that Bob met a watermelon salesman from Modesto, whose brother, I guess, was exporting coffee from Yemen, made a connection there in the early 80s, I want to say. The rest is history. Royal became a regular importer of this Yemeni coffee. Mr. Muslat's daughter now runs a company called Pearl of Tahama, which is our connection. And obviously, Max Nicholas Fulmer, Bob Fulmer's son, is also, now our CEO. And so it's kind of an interesting parallel of these two companies that have evolved into the second generation of family leadership, of excellent specialty coffee, and honestly, a lot of innovation trying to figure out ways to work around logistics complications. I'm sure if you've been watching any news whatsoever in the last 2 or 3 years, you recognize that things are complicated in the Middle East right now. And without getting into too much geopolitics, the fact that we even have this coffee in the first place is kind of remarkable. And it says quite a lot about the dedication of the folks in Yemen willing to both continue producing coffee and helping to export it to us. So feel very privileged to have this.
Yeah, well said. I would add, from a flavor standpoint, most of us working in specialty coffee today probably learned a lot of what we know about Yemen coffee, at least in the cup, through Royal.
Yeah.
Because Royal had this very early relationship with this, family of Yemeni coffee exporters, and as a result, has always bought the coffee and has always had something to say about the terroir, whether it was in the 1980s or now, of some of the best coffees from Western Yemen. I know roasting companies that I've worked for in the past kind of got their start buying Yemen coffees from Royal because they were some of the earliest, well-done naturals in the world that you could find outside of Ethiopia. Brazil naturals were never strong enough, but Yemen had a really particular history and terroir that you just couldn't find before everybody started producing specialty naturals. And a lot of that stuff really originated from this original relationship with this family in Yemen. And it's still, they remain our only supplier from Yemen, and are still selling us some of the best coffees we buy all year, some of the most expensive coffees we buy all year. And it's an origin and it's a supply chain that we come back to every single year. It's table stakes for Royal Coffee to carry these coffees.
So the anaerobic version is a kind of cool, modern twist on the classic Yemeni profiler, where we've got this natural style, dried on rooftops from relatively small farmers. They're in a cooperative called Sharqi in the Haraz region, I believe. And the cooperative has selected a small number of producers to identify and help do this additional step of processing. So we've got this modern fermentation technique that adds a lot of additional nuance and sophistication to the flavor profile.
Yeah, we can get into flavor now, I think.
You can?
We've said enough.
Thank God.
Okay, so for those of you out there that are familiar with, I guess, the typical terroir that you would expect from Yemen naturals, picture that, remove a lot of the gaminess and add a really pointed sort of tart berry or wild berry acidity to it, and a little bit more of a sugar syrup texture to the body. And you're pretty much imagining what this coffee will taste like. For me, it was lots of wild blueberry, dried rose, a little bit of really fragrant pine resin or something, which is kind of like a touchstone for Yemeni terroir in general. But there's like white chocolate ganache, there's honeysuckle and hops. It's soft, it's powdery on the finish, it's pulpy, it's berry-like. It really is very saturated with flavor.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Bob, with whom I cup coffee every Monday, and reminisces powerfully about the former flavor profiles of Yemen that he can no longer find, I think would say this tastes the most like his favorite memories of Yemeni naturals, probably from the 1990s.
Yeah. When people ask me what I think it tastes like, I usually have one of two directions that I'll take. The first is like the lowbrow version, where this is like, it's like an ice cream sundae. It's got the banana split, it's got the maraschino cherry, it's got the creaminess,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a little decadent, but also kind of desserty and fun. And then the other side, if I am talking to the heads, you know, the flavor folks, I often break out goji berry and fenugreek as flavor notes. It's got a really unique like spice character that's unlike anything I've tasted before in coffees. And yeah, that wild berry note that just is a little different from anything you find elsewhere in the world, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Air shipping coffee from Yemen is very expensive. This supply chain is very expensive to begin with, just because it is quite challenged. It costs a lot of money to incentivize this type of production. As a result, the coffee is super expensive. We wouldn't do it if we didn't think that it was worth doing it for our customers, and because it's a coffee that we want to see exist next year and beyond.
Yeah. So if I had coffee left in my glass, I would say cheers to that. But at this point, I guess the moral of the story is we hope you enjoy this very rare, very unique